Resuming debate, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for the Minister of Multiculturalism and Canadian Heritage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Rise this afternoon to speak in support of Bill C-86, a second act to implement certain provisions of the budget tabled in Parliament on February the 27th, 2018, and other measures. And let me start by acknowledging that I'm speaking on the traditional lands of the Algonquin peoples. And on this very auspicious day, I'd like to wish all those who are celebrating Diwali a very happy Diwali, and I hope all of my constituents and all those in Canada who celebrate this very special occasion are able to see the light and overcome darkness. Mr. Speaker, speaking of the light, the last 3 years, the Liberal government has shone quite a bit of light into this country. There are a number of remarkable achievements that I think are worthy of note, and of particular is on trade. Mr. Speaker, we have set Canada on a course that will enable Canada to be the freest and one of the most open trade markets anywhere in the world. And these three trade agreements, as you know, include the Comprehensive and Economic Trade Agreement between Canada and the EU, also known as CETA, the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership between Canada and the countries of the Trans-Pacific Asia, and of course, most recently, the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement with our North American allies. This means millions of new markets, billions of new dollars in trade, and countless opportunities for Canadians of today and of the future. This unprecedented access to new and emerging markets will create unimaginable global opportunity for all of us. I know that my constituents were quite worried earlier in the year about getting a good deal under the USMCA. They were worried about Canada giving in too much or that Canada being shut out altogether. No longer, Mr. Speaker. For close to 18 months, our negotiators have worked day and night to get not any deal, but a good deal for Canada. And I want to thank and acknowledge our Minister of Foreign Affairs and her entire team for tireless work, and she has indeed made us all very proud. Mr. Speaker, there's more good news. Every time I meet employers, one of the issues that they bring to me and bring to my attention is the lack of labor, lack of being able to find people to fill good jobs in Canada. They complain that they're unable to hire people and retain them regardless of the money they pay. And oftentimes these are high-paying jobs. We have right now historically low rates of employment. And in fact, it's one of the lowest it's been in the last 40 years. And our government has helped propel our economy forward, making it the fastest growing economy amongst G7 countries and one of the fastest among the world. And this has led to the creation of over 500,000 jobs since we were elected in 2015. And of course, there's more good news for small business, as our tax rate will go from 11% to 9% as of the coming January. There are many very important initiatives in the budget, Mr. Speaker, and I can talk about all of them. I know of particular note is the establishment of the status of women as a full ministry, the implementation of pay equity legislation, along with legislating gender budgeting, are critical parts of our government's agenda. And I know many other of my colleagues have spoken about it extensively. But I want to today focus on two very important things that I want to highlight this afternoon. First is the issue of poverty reduction, and secondly is the price on pollution. And let me start with poverty reduction, Mr. Speaker. Poverty is linked to a number of different socioeconomic outcomes in our society, whether it's the longevity of our life, whether it's success in education or success in the workforce. Poverty is central determinant, one of the central determinants of success or limitations in our society. Our government believes that everyone deserves a real and fair chance at success, and that is what drives us to grow the middle class and support people who are working hard to join it. Canada's first ever national poverty reduction strategy sets new poverty reduction targets and establishes the federal government as a full partner in the fight against poverty. Our poverty reduction strategy also builds on the progress we've made together so far. And these include the introduction of the Canada Child Benefit in 2015, and most recently, of course, the indexing of the CCB. This has lifted over 300,000 children out of poverty. And then just in my riding of Scarborough-Rouge Park alone, it's given back $76 million in just the last year. Secondly, a reversion of previous government's changes to the guaranteed income supplement and old age security, which basically restores the age of retirement from 67 to 65 years old and made benefits for seniors more generous, which includes lifting 100,000 seniors out of poverty each year. The launch of Canada's first ever national housing strategy last year will not only create 100,000 new housing units and renew and renovate more than 300,000 existing units, we're also removing more than 500,000 Canadians from critical housing need. Since 2015, our government has been working hard to lift Canadians out of poverty with the help of programs like the CCB, the top-up to the GIS and the Canada Workers' Benefit. By 2019, the government's investments in it are expected to help lift over 650,000 Canadians out of poverty. The poverty reduction strategy, called Opportunity for All, is a bold vision that will build Canada where every Canadian has a real and fair chance at succeed. Opportunity for All, Mr. Speaker, is a long-term strategy that builds on significant investments that the government has made since 2015 to reduce poverty altogether. And there's three pillars to this strategy. One, dignity. It's lifting Canadians out of poverty by ensuring everyone's basic needs are met. Secondly, opportunity and inclusion, helping Canadians join the middle class by promoting equality of opportunity and full participation in every aspect of our society. And resilience and security, supporting the middle class by protecting Canadians from falling into poverty by supporting income security and resilience. And I do want to note, Mr. Speaker, one of the aspects of our government agenda is the anti-black racism aspect, and I would be remiss if I don't address it because it's part of the work that I do as the Parliamentary Secretary for Canadian Heritage. Our government understands that any plan for reducing poverty must also address systemic barriers such as racism and discrimination that holds some Canadians back. By removing barriers and leveling the playing field, all Canadians will be able to reach their fullest potential. And to help address systemic barriers of racism, our government is launching, and we're currently in the process of consultations across the country, which will establish a national framework for anti-racism that will bring together experts, community organizations, citizens, interfaith leaders, and others to really work out a national strategy. And of course, as a first step towards this, the recognition of anti-black racism is at the core of these discussions, amongst other forms of racism and discrimination. The second aspect I want to highlight, and I know my time is quite limited, is the price on pollution. Mr. Speaker, there's no question whatsoever that we have a problem with our environment. Our environmental disasters that we've seen over the last number of decades just seem to be getting worse and worse every year. Whether it's the floods in Toronto or the wildfires out west, we see the challenges of climate change. We see it firsthand. Mr. Speaker, last year, for Canada's 150th birthday, I had the opportunity to visit St. Anthony's, Newfoundland, a beautiful part of our country, a country where icebergs are prevalent. And one of the things that the local folks were telling me is that the number of icebergs really spoke to the fact of climate change, the reality of climate change, where we know that temperature is rising and it's hurting the environment, hurting and limiting our way of life, particularly for Indigenous people. And that's why it's important that this government address the issue of climate change. We address it by pricing pollution, making sure that those who pollute pay a fair share, pay their share to ensure that pollution no longer is free. This is not a free commodity that the Canadians or any industries can take for granted. If they pollute, they must pay, and that is the principle behind our pricing, pollution pricing plan, Mr. Speaker. With that, I'd like to once again reiterate my support for C-86 and like to thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.